I thought it was gonna be when I heard Gangs of New York.
Yes.
What's the movie you told me?
Yeah, I was like, is this is gonna be like a Marty's West Side Story? When you're a jet,
Stevens
West Side. Well, no, but Marty's version of
yeah.
West Side.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but still, West Side Story. I mean, everywhere. Yeah, it's a musical.
That's
but it's about
when you're
like
a gangster.
And honestly, it kind of was. You know, they had a turf battle.
Welcome back to the WatchTower Film Podcast, the film review podcast on the Towercast Network by cinema lovers for cinema lovers. We are back in studio with another Carlos M. de la Torre pick. I'm excited to talk about this one.
Hot take.
What's your hot take?
Lame film. No, I'm kidding.
Last time you hated Brad Pitt. This time it's a lame film. We're gonna start.
This time it's gonna be me, Leo.
Know,
oh dear.
What? We have to insert our hot takes.
Let's settle down. Let's settle down. Yeah,
hot take.
All right.
This should be a Jehovah's Witness podcast.
Oh dear, Barbara. Don't encourage it. A bunch of people. We've had a few comments, but I've been saying it for months. That's why we changed it.
But why though?
Because there's an actual Jehovah's Witness podcast called The WatchTower.
But I think somebody did it like as a laughing thing.
No, not on the side.
I think somebody said it on the last one.
Oh no, it's not even a
laughing.
podcast actually. It's they have like a magazine or a news.
Anyways,
no, it's a magazine.
We're a film podcast.
We are indeed a film podcast, and we're here to talk about film.
Lovers.
I already said that part, pal. I'm
For
not introducing
cinema
you first
lovers.
this time. I'm introducing my fellow co-host, Mr. John Eric Castro.
Giving you the actor's perspective, and today's giving you the
blame actor's perspective, apparently.
Yeah.
Why? Mr. Austin Young. Cheers. Trust him. He's the director. He's the director. Mr. Michael DeLoe.
Damn, I love
Mr. Cinematographer.
I was about to go into the whole thing of I've abandoned my child.
I've abandoned my child. It's wrong film. Wrong film. Right actor, wrong film.
It's film. He was just waiting for it.
I know. It's never going to be that time.
Yep.
I've abandoned my boy.
I've abandoned my boy.
And then the whole time he's like, when's the I've abandoned my boy?
I've abandoned my child.
Yeah, every time he would pop
Hot
up.
take. I think this film's a better performance.
Oh,
yes,
that's a very lukewarm take. I think a lot of people probably like this.
Nah, there's between
Over There Will Be Blood. I don't know, man.
There Will Be Blood and Abraham. I mean,
Lincoln's a damn good performance, but that'd be number 3 for me. Exactly.
Really?
Oh my god.
That'd be number 3 for me.
That'd be number 2.
Number 2, really? No, this is number 1. There Will Be Blood, and then
where does Phantom Thread fall for you?
Where does what?
Phantom Thread.
Up there, number 4. Number 4. Yeah, man. No. There Will Be Blood and Lincoln.
Yeah, those 3 other.
He did Lincoln. He was Lincoln, and Spielberg's Lincoln.
Nah, you're lying to me, man.
I did not know that was him.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm so
You
used
didn't
to
even have that many.
I'm so used to the traditional like look, you know, the mustache and everything like that. So
You did.
Who?
no, and like Lincoln, he has like the thick beard and white.
Oh, so you're just thinking like younger?
What traditional look? Abraham Lincoln never had a mustache. It
No,
was always a
I'm talking
beard.
about Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh yeah, of course. Anyways, yeah, Daniel Day-Lewis.
Wait,
but,
was that his last film?
No, Phantom Thread was.
Yeah.
Paul
Really?
Thomas Anderson's Phantom Thread. Terrific picture, terrific performance.
Who directed it?
Paul Thomas Anderson. Welcome back.
Yes, sir.
We're here to talk about Martin Scorsese's 2004 historic epic. I'll say epic.
Correction.
I'll stand by epic.
Correction, 2002.
2002. I'm sorry. You're right. 2002. That's very important.
Oh,
That year, the release and the filming of this is
Yes.
very important. 2002. Correction. 2002. Historic epic. Gangs of New York.
Why do you say epic?
Gang.
It wasn't considered.
No.
epic?
Well, I mean, I don't know who defines it as an epic. I define it as an epic. But Delao and I got into this conversation
wouldn't
about
it-
Grand Budapest Hotel. You know, he
Wouldn't
defined
the
it as an epic.
Academy and the Oscars?
No,
No,
they
it's
don't.
it's a
No, an epic is the type of story, the grand kind of depiction of the story, how much time it covers, how many, you know, it's a kind of full scope
sure.
big
I was
thing.
just saying, like in terms of like, did it win anything? It was like,
The term epic as a verb, debatable, right? Debatable. But as a depiction of this historical
I think
time,
we just talk about like
I'm just
the journey.
Yeah, stories that go from like the conception of a character all the way to the end. Like I
Yeah.
mean, like Apu trilogy being an epic when you look at it.
the full
entirety,
arc
yeah.
from beginning of life to.
well,
yeah.
I'm just saying in terms of like, it got like we're talking about right now, the pianist.
Yeah,
and all
accolades
these-
and whatnot. Yeah, well, we'll get there. We'll get there. Well,
like-
but I want to talk about this film for a while.
Did we
This,
already announce what it was?
yeah, it's at Gangs of New York,
Oh,
2002.
Why
Are you here right now?
Why are we doing this stream Spooky Month?
We're doing this stream in Spooky Month
because these were scary bad performances.
Jeez, no,
No.
scary great performances.
No, yeah,
I'll
just-
fight tooth and nail,
just
Costa. We'll
a
get
little,
there.
just a little
Okay, we'll get there. We'll
smidget.
get there. Well, that was your argument too. Brad Pitt was a little smidget. We're talking about this in October. Due to the fact that Killers of the Flower Moon, Scorsese's newest picture, starring Leo, and
Period
starring
piece.
Lily Gladstone, who I'm hearing is in the running for Oscars
Yeah.
officially today. In Variety, they announced it that
And
they
over
will be
there.
campaigning her for an Oscar.
And a very, very old Robert De Niro.
And a very, very old Robert De Niro, Jesse
still.
Plemons, Brandon Fraser. I mean, this is going to be an insane
Josh
cast.
Peck.
Not Josh Peck.
He's not in this one?
I don't think so. That was Oppenheimer, buddy.
Oh, damn. No, I thought.
Yeah,
he
Oppenheimer's
also-
a film that's going to take everything at the Oscars. So
I don't think Josh Peck's in this. I highly doubt Josh Peck.
I
is in
thought
this.
he was also going to come out there, and people were like complaining that Josh Peck was
I
coming out.
don't
of, like, a
think
Scorsese
so.
film. I could be very wrong.
Maybe.
It wouldn't be the first time. Won't be the last time.
But yeah,
You can
it's coming
check it.
out October 20th.
Looks amazing.
And you know, I wanted to kind of bridge into encouraging people to go watch it in cinemas because it will have a wide release in cinemas. That hasn't happened in the Marty movie since I think Wolf of Wall Street. I'm not even joking. So because Silence didn't get a wide release,
Irishman
didn't get a wide release, and now this film will. And people are calling it the cinematic event of the year over Oppenheimer. The cinematic event of the year.
I will fight you.
Well, hey, this is what people are saying, man.
This is
People
good.
who have
This
seen the
is
film.
Cinema lovers are saying.
Cinema lovers
This is
and
good.
critics are saying that this
Yeah.
will be especially since it got a wide release.
I think
That's
that's, the
why-
thing.
that's why.
Nolan.
Oppenheimer was an event because of what that and Barbie did. People were announcing it as an event,
That is true.
which was
It
great.
Good marketing, yeah.
But they're calling this a cinematic event, a cinematic kind of.
God, so you put those fingers down.
I'm sorry, you were saying about this versus Oppenheimer.
Oh no, just kind of piggybacking off of what you were saying with that and Barbie coming out. Like that
Right.
was an event for I'd say like the main wide stream audience, but
Yeah.
this one seems very much towards like film critics.
I want to
and,
touch on that.
cinema lovers.
You guys hear what PTA said about that? I think I sent you guys the article.
No.
PTA said about this, and
talking about some red kid.
Yeah, no, we won't get into that. But
Anyway.
in IndieWire, on IndieWire, they were talking about Oppenheimer, and PTA decided to comment on it, and they asked him, well, what do you think is happening in cinema, and what is Oppenheimer exactly doing? And it said, I won't quote the whole thing, but the quote that stood out the most is, I think this is nature's way of healing cinema. I think Oppenheimer's nature's way of healing
Like,
cinema and the
giving
cinematic
people
going experience.
a reason to
Yeah.
go back
Do you
and
agree with
showing them
that,
the value.
Austin?
No,
No?
absolutely.
That's a great statement. I agree. I think
absolutely.
it's like a.
I do agree. I didn't say
Because-
that.
Well, the look on your face, you were like, eh.
He's looking up stuff. He's looking up
Yeah,
stuff
I'm
for
looking something
Oppenheimer.
up.
Well, yeah, no,
not
but
for Oppenheimer.
PTA said this about Oppenheimer, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, the fact that Barbenheimer brought people back to the cinema for good cinema,
Yeah.
not for a spectacle Marvel film or whatever, for good cinema. It's
Yeah.
nature's way of healing. I love that.
Because I think
I love
prior to that, for years now, it's like the only way you'd get people to come back is if you're continuing a franchise.
quote. Right.
Again, like the Marvels, the
Yeah,
Harry
yeah.
Potters,
Uh-huh,
all those
uh-huh.
kind of stuff. Star Wars. Then people would go back, but
Right.
I mean, it wasn't doing a whole lot. But I think
And that's
as of,
still gonna happen, by the way. Those films are
Yeah.
still gonna make their theatrical,
like, as of right now, I don't know if you sent me the article or if I saw it separately, but that Oppenheimer is now the top grossing biopic of all time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, of all time, I think I did send something like that. And Barbie, I think broke into the top 10 grossing films of all time. So I think it's number 10 at the moment of all time,
Yeah.
surpassing the Avengers. So
Super impressive.
yeah, it's
Super
great,
impressive.
and I agree with PTA
And then
wholeheartedly.
it's good that now we're continuing that
Yeah.
with like now
with
Killers.
of the Flower Moon, and
Yeah.
not just Killers. Maestro's coming out in November. December has the Wonka biopic.
Biopic.
Biopic coming out, or the prequel, we should say. But
Yeah, the Wonka prequel. Anderson's coming out with some shorts, but it's not going to have.
Anderson is coming out with some show that's going to be
Guy
Netflix. No, I
Ritchie
think it's
also
like a
has
Netflix thing.
2 or 3 coming out.
Hey,
I thought we were just spitballing.
I think
No,
Guy
no,
Ritchie's
okay,
going to
no, but
have
you're
a
absolutely
cookbook.
No, but
that's
yeah. But anyways, talking about cinema and the cinematic going experience, I really encourage people to go see Killers of the Flower Moon in cinemas. This is Marty, when he was first producing this film, defined it as quote unquote his first Western. 2:3:5:1 aspect ratio. The newest trailer got me. I haven't been excited. The last two trailers and the teaser, I wasn't super excited. I was like, damn, Oppenheimer really looks a lot better than this. The last trailer that was released looks fucking amazing.
I saw it yesterday. I didn't even know what the story was about. But then you see how, Native American.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, I gotta see this story.
Well, glad you brought it up. In case you didn't know, really quickly, I'll let you know. The film is about a tribe, a Native American tribe in Oklahoma, where essentially they struck oil and got really rich and immensely rich. Were the richest people per capita in the world at the time, definitely in America. And then white people came along and thought, well, we got to get in on this, man, and started gentrification, started combining the Leo characters, the Lily Gladstone character, kind of a sneaky way to get in there. But they fall in love ultimately, and at the same time, how about we just start killing them and taking their business? That's essentially what the film is about, just an American tradition, if you will.
Exactly.
A true American tradition, which is what Marty's tackling in this film. Written by Eric Roth, if I'm not mistaken.
Eric Roth.
Eric Roth has written quite a few things of notable measure.
For Marty ever?
No, I don't think him and Marty have ever written together. And Marty co-wrote the script. Co-wrote the script.
Oh, really?
I sent you guys a thing on Instagram, if I'm not mistaken, of I don't know if it was IndieWire or somebody. They covered Eric Roth's writing process, and he still writes on an old, like I'm talking an old software, like 1990 software on a Windows XP computer. And he's like, you know what's great about this? Nobody can find this software ever again. Like you can't download this ever again. It's just like, he's like, call it paranoia and call it sticking to my old ways. He's like, but he says that what he does is like, this software can only handle 40 pages at a clip. So he'll type the 40 pages, print out the things, and then to send it to studios or whoever's turning it into, they have to scan it. They have to scan the printed version because you can't even email it. Wow. That's how like insane his process is. But he did that.
He found something for him. I mean,
it works.
that every person has their process.
And just so you guys know, he says his argument was like, I think it forces me to write acts. He said, because if I don't have an act in 40 pages, we got a problem. Which I thought was great. But he's written Forrest Gump. He's written The Insider, Curious Case of Benjamin Button. He produced Mank. He wrote the screenplay for Dune. Killers of the Flower Moon, obviously. He wrote the screenplay of A Star is Born, which we'll be talking about soon. Extremely Loud, Incredibly Close. I mean, this guy, The Good Shepherd, which was directed by Robert De Niro. The Munich, Ali. I mean, just crazy. It was a great writer.
Yeah.
But anyways, co-written by him and Martin Scorsese, directed by Martin Scorsese. Go check out Killers of the Flower Moon in cinemas, please, in cinemas. I can't punch on that enough. The last time I saw a Marty film in cinemas, we saw The Irishman for its limited 1 week run.
I think we saw it at Flix.
We did see it at Flix Brewhouse. It was the only theater in El Paso screening it. Before that, Silence was only screening in one theater, not one movie theater, one theater house, which was Cielo Vista, Cinemark Cielo Vista. That was the only place screening it in El Paso. So this is getting a wide release, which means almost every cinema in the world is going to be screening it. So go check it out.
Today, Cinemark started selling tickets.
Yeah, you did catch that. We're Alamo people. We wait for Alamo to sell tickets. So Alamo starts selling tickets. So I need to buy my fucking tickets. I'm excited to see that. Go see it in cinemas, please. I can't stress that enough. We haven't had this since 2016. Since 2013, we haven't had a Marty film. 10 years. We haven't had a Marty film in a wide release.
You guys have to watch Gangs of New York so you get your palate back.
Yeah. Well, this is what we wanted to do. This is what I was excited for. And the guys indulged me. We screened it at my house, in the right setting.
Very briefly, I mean, there's a lot to talk about, but like there's a plethora of Marty films. And there's so much in his filmography from his early works that are super fundamental to like the way he constructs stories. To like a lot of his later works that he's more refined. What made this one get you in the mood for Killers? Like,
well, it didn't just get me in the mood for Killers, but what's special about Gangs of New York for me,
or like, I mean, also as a recommendation to people, because I mean,
do you mean like, well, for one, it's a period piece, right?
Yeah.
I mean, period piece being an important factor of this. It's a period piece. I don't know why Marty described it this way, but when he was talking to Jay Cox, the screenwriter of the film, one of the screenwriters, two screenwriters, he told him, this was back in 71, 72.
Yeah,
when he wanted to get him excited. Yeah, it's been in development since then. He wanted to get him excited. He's like, it's a Western in outer space. it's like a Western in outer space because it's not quite your typical American Western, but it's set in this time period that nobody covers in this kind of scale. And that's how we wanted to get him excited about it. But I do think, I mean, it has all the telltales of a Western to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And almost like a modern gangster picture set in the 1800s, post-Civil War era, or I should say mid-Civil War era, Reconstruction era, I should say, of history. And again, widescreen, 2351, 16:9 aspect ratio for certain things. But so much to talk about this film. But the biggest thing that this film ever did for me, the Gangs of New York has sat on my top films of all time for a long time since I started falling in love with cinema. And I think it's because I saw what Marty could do with scale.
Ooh.
And I saw what he can do with intimacy and scale. And it was one of those behind the scenes things where I started seeing how he developed this picture. And the thing that always stuck with me is how him and Dante Ferretti, the production designer, created this world. It just like it reminded me that people still do this in the 2000s and on. Like we still were creating and building sets. I'll talk about that a little more because Mr. George Lucas had other things to say about this when he visited the set. We'll get there. Ratings.
Okay. Do you want me to go?
Before we go into ratings, should we remind people to subscribe because there's 95%?
Yeah, please subscribe to
there's
the podcast.
95% of people who watch that aren't subscribed.
There's only 5% of people who are watching and not subscribed.
That are subscribed.
That are subscribed. So 95 of you, or not 95% of you, rather.
What are you doing with your life?
Yeah, please subscribe. Hit the button. You got a YouTube account. Just hit it. It's fine. And
or
if you're not
Spotify, or Google Podcast,
or Apple Podcasts,
Castbox,
that's Pandora
Stitcher.
now. Oh, Stitcher's on Pandora.
Stitcher. Sling
iHeartRadio.
podcast.
I mean, we're literally on iHeartRadio.
I know.
Let me start the rating. I want to read this one.
All right. Fair. So, yeah, please subscribe to the podcast if you haven't done so.
Yeah,
Mr. John Eric
more
Castro.
films on the way. Now,
give us
Castro,
your rating.
Give
this
us your
is
insignificant little...
Shut the fuck up and let him give his rating.
Motherfucker. So my insignificant thought of this is that...
Insignificant?
Oh, what did he say?
Yeah, I said insignificant.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah.
I'm just repeating. No, but I think this is one of Martin Scorsese's, like you said, just a bigger scale. I'm used to like the Goodfellas, Casino, and all this.
Kind of more underbelly of society set in this little bubble type of thing, which this is kind of that, but not quite.
Yeah. And this New York setting that you don't get to see a lot, right?
Right.
And I just think that there's so many elements to this film, right? You got the all-star cast, you got the historical elements of it.
Just to touch on that, starring Leo DiCaprio, Cameron Diaz, Daniel Day-Lewis.
Who's the guy from Harry Potter? He's one of
the the Mad-Eye Moody. What's his name? The guy from Banshees of Inisherin.
Brendan Gleeson, Liam Neeson, John C.
Liam
Reilly.
Neeson, John C. Reilly. Fun story about how John C. Reilly got in this. Mr. PTA had something to do with it. We'll get there.
He seems kind of like out of
we'll
place,
get there.
But
yeah,
he did a good
all-star
job.
cast for sure.
Yeah, the all-star cast. But I think people should see this not just for like if you like history, you like Marty. Daniel Day-Lewis,
man, the standout of the picture.
You what a ruthless gangster was back in the day.
Yeah.
And then I think like this is one of those films, like it's a great plot, it's a great director, it's all this, but you need that actor that demands a presence. And it's like would you call him a villain, an antagonist? Right?
I mean, depends on which side of this you're on, right? But at the same time, what's the most interesting for me about his performance is if he is the antagonist, if he is the gangster, which he is. He has political influence. And that's still a thing. It's still a thing in today's society, in today's in today's politics. And you can't do that unless you have a good actor like this portraying both sides of the coin. It's amazing. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. Just this presence alone, it stuck with me the whole film. It was just one of those that.
Look, we've talked about the Joaquins, we've talked about the Leos, but there's nobody that holds a candle to Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, we're just talking about it. Like I've seen him in There Will Be Blood, which still holds for sure.
Terrific.
And Lincoln, which somebody didn't know,
which is how good of an actor he is.
Exactly, right?
And we're talking about three amazing directors, by the way. We're talking about Marty, we're talking about PTA, and we're talking about Spielberg in these performances. I mean,
and like I hate to repeat myself, but I like these settings. It's got kind of like that Guy Ritchie, Sherlock Holmes type of. I know it's kind of London,
but there's a look to it. I don't know. We haven't been able to define it perfectly.
It's this underworld thing, isn't it? I mean, it's
this
Just like the old school buildings all together,
Yeah,
underground
I
places.
think he's talking about like the set design because we're talking about it like Sweeney Todd and the old like Sherlock.
Sure.
Especially
I mean, this was when
Town
America
Square feel.
But then we get the New York aspect of it, right? I'm just the guy Ritchie, right? But man, this is just one of those pieces where it's just like it's got everything. It's just got everything.
You're right. I don't know why it didn't click until now. That guy Ritchie sets most of his films in London.
Yeah. Especially the Sherlock Holmes. Reminded me of that little. But just that little thing right there, I'll give it
his performance. Or just everything.
No, the performance, you know, the history,
sure.
The wardrobe is beautiful.
Absolutely.
Here's where I'm gonna get a little I'll give it a 9.6.
Oh my gosh.
Trust me, Cameron Diaz was awesome. Who's the other guys? John C. Reilly. Leo was good. Leo was really, really good. I just think, let me try to phrase this the best way. He was too kind of pretty, too clean,
interesting.
It's New York. He came from the undergrounds. Like,
it's also the argument that's happened a lot with Leo, where like throughout his career, I mean, it was always like
he picks these roles, right?
No, I'm saying like he did a good job. I'm just saying like in this one, it just I kept looking at him like
I don't believe you.
Not that I don't believe you. I was just like, you don't seem like that guy from New York that would be rugged.
He wasn't a gritty dumpster rat, right? Like he was just
exactly, like a thief.
But again, in terms of let me ask you this. In terms of demanding, but look at his priest father. I mean, there's a lot of things to follow that crumb trail, right? I mean, the blade thing, the shaving thing, the clean thing. I mean, there's a lot of things to kind of justify that. But let me ask you this.
Okay.
I'm not gonna ask you to name an actor you think would be better. You could if you want to, but I want to say, doesn't this role, like if we meet as let's play devil's advocate. Let's say we get this rugged unknown kid to play this lead. He wouldn't demand the eyeballs on the screen, right?
Exactly. Like a Leo would be like, dude, if he's Leo saying something, we got to hear him, right?
If it were like, I don't know, as an example, because I think this could fit if you were younger, right? Like a Bobby Cannavale. As great, as amazing as Bobby Cannavale would be, people would turn their heads and like, like to a certain extent, right?
For sure. But that's just the only thing. Like he was good. It was just kind of like not matching Daniel Day-Lewis's energy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Who could? Who fucking could?
I know, but like
even Paul Dano fell a little short, and There Will Be Blood for him, man. Like, and Paul Dano's fucking good.
I agree with you on that.
You know, like who could? Who could match this motherfucker?
Because nobody really knew who he was back in the day.
No, that's part of it. That's part of it.
Just like we're talking about Leo, right?
Yeah. No, by the way, and just to state that this was Leo's first collaboration with Marty. Ever.
Really?
This was his first film with Marty.
So The Aviator came later on?
The Aviator came later. The Aviator came right after this.
I thought The Aviator was...
This was 02, Aviator was 04, if I'm not mistaken. And then we get into The Departed, and then we get into Wolf of Wall Street, and then we get into...
Oh, man, and he really... I mean, he really...
I think...
For a first time working with an actor...
Killers, if I'm not mistaken, is their 6th collaboration.
Well, I would imagine also with Daniel Day-Lewis. Was it the first one?
Second. He did Age of Innocence before this.
Age of Innocence.
That's the only reason... That's the only reason Daniel Day-Lewis got out of retirement was for Marty.
Yeah, it's 6 features in the short.
6 features and the audition. Yeah. Right. Anyways, I'm sorry. 9.6.
Yeah, 9.6. It's. I'll talk about it later, but it's just he's good. It's just I maybe could.
I feel you. Look, I've seen Leo in better performances. I'm with you. I know.
Exactly.
And when you're gonna pair him with Daniel Day, man, it's
exactly who can you.
Tough. That he was young. This was Leo. Right after Titanic. He did Catch Me If You Can the same year.
Yeah, that's just weird.
This was a young Leo. Leo had a lot to learn, but he was still fucking amazing.
Yeah, good. Like even his accent's pretty good. It was just kind of like.
Yeah. Okay, 9.6. Let's go counterclockwise, Mr. Young.
But I really liked it for 9.6.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like, you don't give high ratings. You don't. So.
Oh my god.
Mr. Young, and by the way, you had seen it when you were a little kid. You said, right? So you had kind of seen it.
Yeah, but I didn't understand the scope of it.
I will say this before we move on to Austin's rating. Gaster said something on my house. He said he looked at me when the film was I think we were halfway. We weren't even finished with the film. We paused, took a little pee break, and he says, he's like, Carlos, Marty, man. He's like, I haven't seen this since I was a little kid. This is fucking great.
It's because it's awesome. What movie reminds you of this of Marty? Right,
it depends.
You think Casino, right, you think of like
maybe like The Irishman, for sure. And
well, right, that's afterwards, right?
Yeah. But you mean like in that era before that? Yeah, for sure.
Did something new.
Age of Innocence, which we'll talk about later.
It's a little bit like that.
It's the opposite societal aspect. It's the upper class. which we see a little bit of this. In fact, Marty played one of the upperclassmen in this, right? Yeah, little cameo. But The Age of Innocence is about the upper class of New York, set in the same era.
Set in the same era?
Yeah. So it's a good thing. But anyways, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Austin.
Howdy, y'all.
Thoughts, ratings.
It's great. This is my second time seeing it.
Second time. What was the last time?
Long time.
Huh?
Second time, long time.
Second time, long time viewer.
That's a good one.
What was the last time you saw it?
Like 5-6 years ago.
Okay.
I think you screened it for me.
I did. Did I screen it for you?
Yeah, at your grandma's house.
My old theater.
Sit down and watch.
I do that to these guys, man. I'm sorry. Sit down and watch.
But we know it's like, it must be good. Yeah.
No, it still holds up. I don't know if I'd put it in like my top 3 of Marty films though.
Top 3. Fair.
But it's
not in my top 3.
I'd give it a solid like
Marty.
Yeah.
Give it a solid 8.9.
8.9. Yeah. Any thoughts onto why it's?
Do you agree with me with Leo, or you think all the?
No, I thought Leo was great in it. Daniel Day-Lewis is great.
Yeah.
I don't know. There was just like something missing about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe like your tastes or just
no story? Like I don't know. Maybe because at the same time, I'm not that much of a history buff, so I don't.
Okay. That's right.
No,
I feel like your dad would like this film.
Yeah, probably.
Most dads.
Yeah,
if they watch the History Channel, they love this.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I think that's the big thing is where like I just
looking at you,
Dad.
I feel like I miss out on a lot of stuff.
That's right. Like a lot of what they're actually tackling, which you don't need to know, but it does make it play better if you do know.
Yeah.
No.
Do you know
Just a
that?
history buff.
Fun fact: dads love revenge movies.
That wasn't a fun fact. That wasn't fun at all. You're not fun.
I never thought about that, but maybe.
Yeah. Do you see us smiling?
He smiled. He immediately said something before I finished.
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't think about that. Maybe
Dads love revenge films.
Yeah.
Google it. This is a scientific fact.
You know what's one thing that I didn't fully understand was the point of the dead rabbit.
I'll get there.
Yeah,
you want me to tell you now?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up.
Okay, asshole. I'm sorry. I just don't know where to start, man. There's so much to talk about. The dead rabbits. The reason why they're called the dead rabbits.
Well, because of the dead rabbit, but like, why was it such a big deal to the butcher?
No, it wasn't because of the dead rabbit. It was because of the origin of the name. So, the word rabbit. There's a Irish word. It's something like ribet. Something like I don't know the exact pronunciation. It's like ribet. Ribet in Irish means a man to be feared.
Yeah, I know that.
And the word dead they use in the sense of like dead serious. Like the I'm dead series, or so dead rabbit is a very serious man to be feared.
Dead serious,
which is why the dead rabbits come about.
That's cool.
That's really cool.
I should have known that. I'm part Irish too.
What was this?
You're part of everything, man.
Yeah, man.
Huh?
What was this shot on?
What was this shot on, film wise, like camera wise?
Yeah. 2002.
I don't know. Maybe our reflex film. So celluloid. Michael Bauhaus was the DP on this, which. Michael Bauhaus has been DPing for him since Raging Bull, if I'm not mistaken. So, or Taxi Driver. Might be Taxi Driver, actually. Michael Bauhaus.
I think Reflex 435.
Reflex 435.
With
film
Zeiss
camera?
Ultra Prime lenses.
Zeiss?
Wow.
Let me ask you this.
It takes 2 guys.
Correct me if I'm wrong. It might have been The Departed. No, it was this one. This was Marty and Michael Bauhaus's last collaboration before Michael Bauhaus passed away, or before he retired. He retired and he died like 10 years later.
Dang.
Michael Bauhaus has been with him since Taxi Driver, if I'm not mistaken. And then after this one, we did The Aviator, which, if I'm not mistaken, was with Robert Richardson.
I mean, he did shorts up until 2013.
Right. No,
he
but
did
Marty,
The Departed.
He did The Departed, so The Departed was their last collaboration.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
The Aviator too? No, I think that was Bob Richardson. No.
No, it was Gangs and The Departed that he did with them.
Okay, so
in recent memory, yeah.
Okay, so The Departed was their last collaboration. Then he worked with Bob Richardson on like Hugo, and then he worked with Rodrigo Prieto pretty much from then on.
By the way, like I was having these thoughts while we were watching it, and I didn't want to bring it up, but I feel like there's a bit of The Departed in this.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
I'm with
like,
yeah.
The story arcs and stuff kind of is a bit of The Departed. Like,
Elaborate. What do you mean?
In the way that it was a young kid going through, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Who kind of
Yeah,
infiltrates, like
Also the revenge aspect,
Yeah.
right? He
Yeah.
plays
Jack-
both
Jack
sides.
Nicholson,
He
right.
plays both. He's a double agent, essentially.
Especially,
Exactly.
because Leo's character in The Departed is the same thing. It's like he gets older and he's like trying to say, "Hey, I'll take a bullet for you" and all that kind of stuff. But then it's like, I'm really trying to get this guy.
and then he almost like confuses himself when he almost takes the bullet for the butcher.
Yeah.
And, like,
Not just that, but think about the aspect of the romantic aspect. The girl is the bad guy's girl, as well as his girl. Like there is that love triangle aspect of it too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
caught it like an hour into the film, and I didn't want to bring it up. I was like,
I agree.
yeah.
And they're based on a ton of different things, man. This one's based on a book written in 1928, and The Departed's based on a Hong Kong cinema film. So it's Marty. It's just the common denominator is Marty. Yeah. 8.9, Mr. Dalal.
Yeah. Well, I was going to start off by saying I loved the visuals for this film, and I thought that they were super special in the way that I've never seen Marty, I guess to this degree, paint a world.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, I can say that. Well, Hugo?
Yeah.
No. Wow.
And I'll say this, because what happens is that, like, let's look at like Goodfellas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you're following one character, and then the character's in a very typical Marty fashion, commenting on the world around him, character dynamics, and this guy, these people know these people usually walk around here, and all that kind of stuff. But you're only seeing it from the perspective of how it affects that character. And in this one, there's moments where they're explaining aspects of the world, but the camera will drift off and sit with either politicians or sit with like people in bars.
You're seeing both sides of the coin.
Seeing this very expansive world.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't feel like there's a part in this movie that you couldn't walk into an area and see very real characters going through these interactions. I mean, even like the dynamics of John C. Reilly's character in how he's the police officer, and how he has his little like group that goes around with him and just bullies everybody, but really he's a spineless guy also. And I mean, I just think it's
that, I need to touch on that. It's that same aspect of we just screened A Clockwork Orange a few days back, and
Without Me.
Oh man, do you like that film?
Jack Nicholson, bro?
That's not Jack Nicholson.
That's
Malcolm McDowell. That's The Shining. We're gonna talk about The Shining later this week.
You're really confident.
I stepped that, dude.
No, but the scene of the police officers.
Yeah.
Right, where the friends
were
crooks, become police officers just to bully people. Essentially, it's the same kind of a sentiment.
I was gonna say that what a lot of people who study cinematography and look at like great moments in cinema and is like Cuarón's work in
The Revenant,
Children of Men. No.
Oh yeah,
sure. There's
sure.
moments that you're following the character, but then it drifts away, and then it starts showing you the
other
world,
aspects of the world.
That's what makes the film so special. The fact that world is live.
You know what's funny?
Really expansive.
Is it immerses us.
Yeah.
But we even get these trickles of this in Y Tu Mamá También, which is when we talked about like the dead body on the side of the road,
Absolutely.
the certain architecture of certain things, where we see the rest of the world.
It immerses us. It brings life to everything. It brings life to the social situations at hand. And
massive.
Like this felt like the exact same technique, but given Marty's style. So it wasn't the camera floating off, but it was definitely the camera saying, I'm going to take a detour. Let's focus on this area and focus on it just enough to give you context, especially when we get to the climax where there's a battle going on between these two gangs. But then at the very end, there's also this battle going on with the whole voting rights. And you're immersed in the world and that city politics and violence and everything. It's so impressive. And not everybody's able to do that. Not everybody's able to balance scale like that and understand that.
One of the things I love in terms of your reaction when we were screening the film is every few scenes you would look at me and be like, especially in the beginning, is this real? Is this really happening? And I'd be like, this is historically real. This is documented history. And then just like
crazy.
Stuff you didn't learn in high school history, right? I mean, and not just that, but I love that at a certain point I would turn and look and you'd be like, that actually happened. That character actually existed. This actually went down.
It's incredible because especially I went in completely blind. I
and this was your first time. It's not important enough.
Tell me what you told me.
I thought it was gonna be when I heard Gangs of New York.
Yes.
What's the movie you told me?
Yeah, I was like, is this gonna be like a Marty's West Side Story? When you're
Stevens West Side. Well, no, but Marty's version of
yeah.
West Side
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but still, West Side Story. I mean, everywhere. Yeah, it's a musical.
That's
but it's about
when you're a
rival
gangster.
gangs.
Yeah.
And honestly, it kind of was. You know, they had a turf battle. But anyway, no. But I thought it was gonna be something like that. So when I see the opening scene, and it's this. What everybody imagines this barbaric, almost like Viking-esque world of getting spears, and then the fact that they're like both standing and they have these crude weapons, like it's like, what is
walking
this?
with a priest?
And then it's just like, oh yeah, that kind of just casually happened in our history, and we don't talk about it. But I respect and love Marty so much for being able to take those moments that are not talked about in history at all. And
I love that
so
people can turn to Marty and say. Yeah, that is your water. This is mine.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That Marty can say he's the New York guy, obviously. Nobody should be trusted with any New York story better than Marty.
Yeah.
Well, what about
Woody Allen?
Yeah.
Anyway, any New York romantic style.
Moving right along.
New York kid. He's a New
Marty's older.
But
isn't he?
Who started first?
Marty.
Dang it.
No. Woody Allen started in the 60s, I think.
That's the throne right there.
No, but what I was going to say was that nobody should be entrusted with a New York story more than Marty.
For sure.
And he's able to say, well, I love this city so much. And in fact, just to piggyback off that a little bit, to give you a little bit of context, Marty was attracted to this story by growing up in Little Italy. Okay, and he went to a church called, it's the famous St. Patrick Cathedral, New York. And he grew up, a couple blocks away from it. And when he would go to church, because he grew up devout Catholic, the adults would talk about stories about the cemetery because this was the first Catholic Irish cemetery in New York in history. And people would talk.
Still standing to this day.
Still standing to there's a piece of it basically still standing to this day. St. Patrick's Cathedral is, but the cemetery is just like you kind of saw it at the end of the film. But he got attracted to the stories because they were legends of like. Adults would talk about like, oh yeah, when the two gangs had a showdown in front of the church.
That's crazy.
And I was like, what? As a little kid, you're like, gangs, church, what?
Battle,
rap battle, and obviously, the Catholic aspect stands out to Marty,
yeah.
And then there's a lot of Catholicism and
course,
Catholic imagery and just everything right intertwined in the story. So that caught his attention. 1970 rolls around. He picks up this book by chance called The Gangs of New York. This wasn't even a marketing thing. This wasn't a Marty thing. This was based on the book. This book was written in 1920s.
Wow.
Okay, and it was
was it an actual book or just
there was an actual book. It was an actual book documenting all the gangs of New York from their inception all the way to 1928. So this was Marty's picked this up, and then he went to Jay Cox, his co-screenwriter, who I think he did a portion of Mean Streets with. And actually, by the way, the cemetery that we're talking about, they shot scenes of Mean Streets in that cemetery. So he always wanted to do something with the cemetery. And again, it was in his neighborhood, right? So he picked up the book, gave it to Jay Cox and said, we need to do something with this. They developed the first draft in 73, 74. Jeez. And then it was set to shoot a couple years later, 76, 77. There's an ad that I earmarked here in my book. This is Gangs of New York making the movie, and there's an ad in Variety. If you know, over here, this one here.
Oh wow!
In Variety, announcing Gangs of New York now in progress or whatever. So they were wanting to make this film.
That would have been interesting.
1977, they were announcing the making of this film, and it didn't come out till 2002. So think about that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna still earmark this because there's another thing I want to show you guys. But So this was the inception of Gangs of New York.
Did he say who he originally casted?
Not yet. I think sure the law's still finishing his thoughts on the rating, but he hasn't even given his rating. Well, that was the second round of casting.
Oh really?
Yeah, we'll get there. No, I think it might have been the first. But anyways, sorry. Going back to, I only touched on that to give you context of Marty's world. Why this was part of his world.
Like it's not even just his New York stories. I mean, like I fell in love. Like one of my favorite films of his is like Silence.
Right.
Like and then the world he created with that and the story and all
Jesuits,
that. And
Japan,
the fact that
17th century.
he takes these stories that are almost like lost human stories, and he brings them back to life and gives them this new vision, and it's incredible. Every time you see him, it's incredible. And
by the way, Silence was supposed to originally star Silence and Last Temptation of Christ and Gangs of New York were the 3 adaptations that Marty wanted to do. Or die trying. He was going to make these 3 films. There were adaptations. There were books, and the original permeation of Silence originally had Daniel Day-Lewis starring and Liam Neeson.
That would have been better.
Just, worked with them on this, and they were going to be the cast actually. But well, Silence.
I was going to say, super impressed. This definitely is at I'll say like my top 3 right now for Marty.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. I still have more of his filmography to see, but I mean, when we're talking about like the art of filmmaking and the potential for filmmaking and using
world building,
I mean, it's just another level. It's another level and everything.
I was hoping to get your reaction. I got more of a reaction out of Austin, but he knew it was coming. I was hoping to get your reaction the most when we were screening it. And it was like we were distracted in the beginning a little bit, and there's still light coming in from the window and stuff like that, blocking a little bit. But I was hoping to get your reaction on the kicking of the door scene.
The first part?
My goodness, yeah.
When we're immersed in the story, in the world.
Because at first it's these super close camera angles. Yeah. You're getting it from that childlike perspective where you're just seeing these little bits and pieces. You don't know what it all means, and you don't know what it's all going to be.
And then Brandon Gleeson, McGinnon kicks the door through with his mallet.
And that opens you up into the world of this film, this 3-hour picture, right?
Snow,
like you said, like a Viking-esque kind of.
Yeah, there's snow that's going to be covered in blood very shortly from here. I thought you were gonna like this was the shot that was gonna define the world building. Like, let's come out of this.
I was so immersed. Last thing I'll say before I give my rating: there's films that you watch, and I think us as like filmmakers, we appreciate them and we like them, but we can enjoy them. But then we're also like kind of drawn back into like our brain as far as like, oh, this is probably how they shot that. This is how they shot this. And
of course.
Then there's other films that the story, the shot, everything about it is so well done, the acting, that then you kind of lose that filmmaker aspect and you're just immersed in like a great film.
That's awesome.
And this was definitely one of them.
Best thing you could hope for.
Exactly. That's what
as a filmmaker
I watch it.
I'm gonna give it a 9.4.
9.4
because it was incredible.
Right.
Honestly, it's because of the rat fighting scene.
The dogs.
Yeah, the dogs.
That was real.
That was real.
Yeah.
Still happens till today.
What? Well, I don't know
not the rat fighting, but that they use dogs.
That's why you said you couldn't show up to the podcast yesterday. No,
he was at a dog fight.
No, they use dogs to.
No, yeah, 9.4 is super impressive. I can't think of anybody else who could make this picture. I can't think of anybody else who could have shot it like this. I think maybe some of the areas where it might be lacking is like you say, in Leo being a little younger and a little bit of a pretty boy, and that leaving a gap as far as like comparing to Daniel Day-Lewis.
I feel like this with Leo, this Leo, which is why I'm not fighting back. This Leo, and Leo is my favorite actor of all time. I will say that he's my personal favorite. He's who made me pay attention to the craft of acting from a young age. I mean, and I really started paying attention to him the most in What's Eating Gilbert Grape. And seeing him at that age and then seeing him now, it's like, dude,
my first one, I saw him in the Basketball Diaries.
I haven't seen Basketball Diaries with Mark Wahlberg, right? Yeah.
You think basketball, but no.
Lucky Leo's gone gay twice. That's an Entourage quote. But yeah, Basketball Diaries was one of them.
Yeah,
so
dude, he showed me.
I feel like this about Leo in Titanic. I can't take him seriously in Titanic.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
He's too young for the fucking role. Kate Winslet's what, 10 years older than him? 5 years older than him? I can't take him seriously in Titanic.
If I'm not mistaken.
Wow. He's too young. He's way too young.
Go for it.
No. We're 45 minutes in. Do you want to give your rating?
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't even think he deserves it after we just said.
No, dude. Leo,
Sandra knows that like she loves Titanic. I tear that film apart for her, dude. I love James Cameron. I love
next podcast, Titanic.
Oh dear God, you're gonna get a low rating from me, buddy. And I love Cameron, man. I love Leo and I love Kate. There's so many things wrong with that film. There's so many things wrong with that film.
You're crazy.
But I feel in terms of the age, in terms of like a more seasoned quote unquote actor, I agree. I think Leo's a bit young for it. But at the same time, who are you going to believe? A kid 16 years later comes back to the Burrows,
I mean,
right?
knocked it out of the park. I'm not going to say that this was a bad performance from him.
No, not at all.
Or bad
that,
casting.
Or that, this was bad casting. Everybody knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody, God, they really...
It's married. It's married beautifully well, right? Everything.
I can't change anything about this film. Yeah. It's so good. But yeah.
Sorry.
So 9.4. Fantastic.
9.4. So we were at 9.4, 8.9, 9.6. This is tough for me, man, because this has sat on my favorite films list for a long time, and I don't even know what number it is right now. It's not top 10. It's probably top 20 of my favorites of all time. It might be top 10. I don't know. But this is a perfect example for me, of you develop your palate as a film lover, and I think I've discovered more cinema that I hold dearer right now, which is why I'm giving this film a 9. I think there was a ton of growth with Marty as a storyteller.
Okay.
I think he went up and he didn't peak, and most people in Marty's position would probably peak at Goodfellas.
I agree.
And Gangs in New York was, for instance, his first $100 million film. It was his first acting, his first collaboration with Leo. Massive cast, massive sets, shooting in Italy, the entire film, and shooting in a legendary film studio at that. And
what is it called?
Cinecittà. Cinecittà was Federico Fellini's film studio. It's the Universal Studios of Italy. And incredible. They built the set. Dante Ferretti needs to get we'll have a whole conversation about Dante Ferretti because he deserves everything in this film. But I just think Marty had more growth. The Aviator came after this. Departed came after this.
This was a stepping stone for a lot of great films.
I think Gangs in New York. The biggest thing. I mean, we'll talk about story. We'll talk about everything. But for Marty's career. For Marty's storytelling abilities, I think working with Leo and making Gangs in New York in the early 2000s was the best chess move Marty could make, because it now cemented him into modern filmmaking with younger film stars, and still getting people's attention in the theaters. Working with a company like Miramax, who was booming at this time, I think it was a great chess move. I think it was Marty's best chess move to keep him relevant as a storyteller.
Obviously, was it successful in the box office?
It was.
Well, opening weekend made only $9 million,
but overall,
gross worldwide made $193 million.
Yeah, so it made its money back and then some.
Shit, I forgot the question.
Was it successful? You mean?
No. I wanted to ask since it only got 10 nominations and no
wins.
What did it do? What did Marty say about that?
I don't think he cares, man.
I don't
think he's ever cared.
I would have thought $100 million budget.
I will say this.
And nothing.
I will say this, and we'll talk about it more when we talk about The Departed, because that'll probably be my next Marty pick. Maybe Age of Innocence. But from a close friend of ours who knows Thelma Schoonmaker pretty dearly, and Thelma Schoonmaker is Marty's closest collaborator, told us a story about when Marty went for The Departed, where he finally, Marty's words, according to our source, to our friend, Thelma told him this: Marty didn't feel validated until he won an Oscar.
That's what I'm saying. Massive
for somebody like Marty. And he went for The Departed,
mm-hmm.
which I'm appreciating more and more. I can't say I'm not, because I am, but my point with all that is I don't think Marty openly cared about that. I think he was just hoping to make the next picture. Marty's the type of guy that in his head, he's had so many quote unquote immediate failures. The Last Temptation of Christ, New York, After Hours.
Yeah.
After Hours kind of made money, but King of Comedy, Silence. He had so many immediate failures in his career that Marty's one of those guys that's like, I don't know if I'm going to get the next one. I don't know if people are going to want to fund my next one.
He's just appreciative of
I'm appreciative of what I have right now.
Even like right now, we're talking about Flowers, but you're already telling us the next one that he has planned.
Yeah, he's planned The Wager with Leo DiCaprio. It's a boat story. It sounds pretty great.
Like, another thing to touch on too, like Scorsese is also very he shows his admiration for the other people that win. Absolutely. Like, think about it, when Irishman came out And Parasite won. He was the first one up in clapping.
Yeah, and spoke highly of director Bong.
And then
also,
sorry.
I think Irishman got 14 nominations and didn't win any. You know, so
but for this one, I looked it up right now. There's an article saying that when this one was at the Oscars and Polanski was named the winner, Marty was the first one up.
He's a huge admirer of Polanski, despite the controversy.
I'm not about Marty.
You know, he's a huge look. First and foremost, I've been saying this time and time again. There's a reason why I bring him up in every podcast, because there's nobody living or dead. Bold statement. There's nobody living or dead in cinematic history that has more appreciation for cinema than Marty.
I'd say you're a close third.
What?
You're a close third.
I'm a close third?
Yeah.
That's a kind of an honor. Yeah. But I think Marty, there's nobody living or dead who has more appreciation for cinema. So, for instance, he's been an admirer of Roman Polanski way before he was Martin Scorsese. You know what I mean? Like, of course he's gonna, he's an admirer and that advocate for foreign cinema, which is why he's gonna, give applause to Bong Joon-ho. He's not that guy, man. He just cares about cinema staying alive. Like, he's just like, that's all he wants. So
that's why, I think his opinion matters so much when he talks about how the Marvel films are not cinema, and he's seeing a death in cinema.
Yeah.
Because things like that, for somebody who's seen world cinema and sees these individually crafted stories that are so impactful that don't need the weight of these old franchises to keep their audience base.
The franchise, by the way, the term franchise and franchise in cinema is a very American idea.
But it's
the block, but I mean, it's as the law always says, cinema was the first art form geared to make money.
Yeah.
So
that's the whole reason why it was invented.
Yeah. But even on the circus realm, even in Nickelodeons, I mean, it was made to make money. But people like Marty see the value in it, and see the value in storytellers that aren't American storytellers, because those guys care about art. They don't care about commerce, right? So if you see Marty's top 10 favorite films of all time, I think 2 of them are American.
And all the other ones are
The Searchers and Citizen Kane.
Citizen Kane.
Everything else is Yugetsu, Japanese cinema, Ashes and Diamonds, Polish cinema. It's just John Renard's British cinema.
I have
Indian
the
cinema.
list from Criterion.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Number 1 is Paisan.
Paisan is an Italian film.
Number 2 is The Red Shoes.
The Red Shoes is a British film.
The River.
The River is John Renard's British and Indian.
Yep. Yugetsu
is Japanese cinema.
Ashes and Diamonds.
Ashes and Diamonds is Polish cinema.
La Ventura
is Italian cinema.
Salvatore
Giuliano. Yeah, it's Italian cinema.
8.5.
8.5 is Italian cinema.
Contempt. And The Leopard.
The Leopard, I don't know the temp. The Leopard is
Luchino Visconti.
Italian cinema.
Yeah.
I think you're supposed to say what is.
Yeah,
well,
the Leopard, I think is Italian.
This is a
cinema.
list as of 2014 from Criterion.
Yeah, so 2 of it. I thought The Searchers was in there. Maybe
this is from 2014 from Criterion.
So maybe it was the 2012 Sight and Sound list.
Maybe.
I think that's the one I'm thinking about. But The Searchers was in there. John Wayne, John Ford. John Ford's The Searchers was in there once upon a time. So now it's 1. As of 2014, 1 American film is on Marty's list.
So throughout the years, what has he said about this one? Since he didn't win anything.
There's so much. I don't think he's cared, man. Like I said, I don't think he's cared about it not winning.
I mean, because one of his pressures.
I feel like
no, I don't think it is.
When you look at I'm sorry.
No.
No, I was gonna say when you look at other filmmakers who talk a lot about their films and really stay on it.
Yeah.
A lot of times they're either campaigning or they might talk about how they hold something very dear and close.
Right.
But really, it's just to kind of gain publicity for it.
No,
That's what all the media runs and all that are for.
But there's some that they keep.
Now, okay.
But
this is the only thing Marty said about it publicly. Okay.
Okay, there we go.
This film was made by Miramax. Harvey Weinstein was the executive producer. Harvey and Bob Weinstein were the executive producers of this film. He's only had one positive thing to say about Harvey. I think it's hilarious because they've asked him, right? Look, Harvey was going to give him the money he wanted, right?
Wait, Miramax? That's right. Miramax gave him $100 million.
Yeah. Miramax, which was an indie company. It was bought by Disney at the time. They had got bought out by Disney.
That's the only way they afforded it.
Yeah. Miramax and Touchstone. That's why you see the Touchstone. I read something that Touchstone Pictures had nothing to do with this film. Did nothing. But since Disney bought that company too, they were just like, let's just stick it on there.
Was Cicale attached at all?
Yeah, Cicale has always been attached since I think 97 or something like that. But and Leo's company, AP&Way, didn't come till The Departed, maybe. Maybe it was Wolf of Wall Street. I don't know. But anyways, the only public thing he said about recognition in terms of publicity is that he stated, and it's the only good thing to my knowledge that he's ever said about Harvey Weinstein. Harvey fought tooth and nail to get this picture made for Marty, and he said, what's great about Harvey Weinstein is he's a very intelligent marketer. He knows how to market a picture better than anybody.
Okay.
That's true. You know? And then I heard somewhere else, or I read somewhere else, that Marty basically said, Harvey is keen, as a producer, you're keen on staying under budget, right? I think the original budget was 83 mil. Balloon to 100. I read there was a thing where basically his payback to Harvey's ways of making films was, and Harvey is a monster, but as a producer, as a film lover,
as sad as it is to say, his contribution to cinema.
His contribution to cinema is I mean, they make fun of it in Entourage. Everything he touches turns to Oscar gold. Yeah. And it was true. What he said about what Marty made him do is Marty made him sit and he screened for Harvey every single one of his references for this film. He made him a film admirer. He's like, no, this isn't just a here's the money, have fun, stay under budget. You're going to fucking sit with me and screen every picture that's going to inspire this picture. You're going to know why I'm making it and how I'm making it.
Did he say, can I be naked?
I mean, gosh, I hope so. I'm making it more interesting. This is a list in this book of the inspirations, the movie list, quote unquote, of Gangs of New York. Yeah. Look at this shit. This is massive, right? So like, I mean, just to name a few, right? Just like the Bowery, the Big Country, Arsenal, Docks of New York. These are most of these. Fellini Satyricon. Holy shit, Fellini Satyricon. It's a great picture. Heaven's Gate, which is part of the reason why Marty didn't make this film in the 70s and 80s, because Heaven's Gate bombed and closed United Artists as a studio, and it was a historic epic. So they were like, let's not trust this much money for these kinds of movies. It's not working. So that's why they didn't make it then. Hellgate, Once Upon a Time in the West, Park Row, Sanjuro, The Shanghai Gesture, Underworld USA, The Wild Bunch. I mean, dude, it goes on and on and on and on. But I mean, these are just some of the references. But this is why I was earmarking this. He made Harvey Weinstein sit and say, you want to be in the movie business, kid? You're going to do it right. You're going to sit with me. You're going to watch why films matter. And we're going to fucking do this. And they did, sure enough. So.
Question.
So in terms of public, like, that was the publicity he was getting of like, okay, we have a great marketer. I'm going to make him do this the right way. I have $100 million to make this picture. Man, there's so much to do with the budget too. Marty gave back his salary to be able to make this film.
Did
Leo gave a part. He took a lower pay just to make this picture. $100 million.
I'm just going,
but it's all on the screen.
I'm just going like in the same vein, like how Quentin Tarantino, they ask him about Pulp
well,
Fiction,
Tarantino's
like,
more.
Yeah, that's
honest,
what I'm saying. I didn't know about Marty.
A wild card. Nah, Marty.
I just feel like he puts his heart and soul into a project, and then after that, he kind of goes on to the next one.
I like that. I like that.
So there's so many different questions and so many different things that we want to touch on.
I'm at a 9. Like I said, I'm just at a 9.
I'm going to just list off a few things so that way you can bring them up. Because I remember there was so much going on, and you kept saying, like, wait for the podcast. The first thing I want to bring up is you mentioned that this had multiple castings.
Yeah.
Can you please talk about that?
Yeah. So the film, again, is supposed to be made in 1977. Heaven's Gate bombed, closed United Artists. They decided not to give it to them. And the first permeation, correct me if I'm wrong here, Austin, I know you have it in front of you, but the first permeation of actors that he wanted to do this with, 77. Bill the Butcher was going to be played by Robert De Niro. Gosh, what's Leo's character's name?
So according to IMDb, it was supposed to be Dan Aykroyd as Valen.
Dan Aykroyd and Jim Belushi.
And Belushi as Bill.
Yes.
Wait, comedy duo.
And then
Jim Belushi as
that's a comedy duo.
Not as Bill, as the friend.
No, it says here that Dan Aykroyd as Valen, which was Leo.
Leo,
and then Belushi as Bill the Butcher Cutter.
Really?
Dan
okay. Yeah.
Aykroyd.
And then later on, it was going to be Mel Gibson as Valen, which was Leo.
Yeah.
And Defoe
as
Bill
the
Butcher.
That's so weird.
Mel Gibson was young back then.
Right.
Defoe for sure. Defoe for sure. But wow, that'd have been interesting.
That was 90s.
That was 90s.
And then we get into the third permeation, which was De Niro as Bill the Butcher, and
I can't believe Aykroyd and
somebody else as
would have been in the 90s.
as Val.
I'm looking for it.
Who was a young?
Oh my god,
I forget
still
who
can't
it
get
was.
over.
Oh, here it is. It was gonna be Malcolm McDowell as Amsterdam.
Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah.
Malcolm McDowell.
Who's that?
And De Niro as the butcher.
Clockwork Orange.
That guy?
Malcolm McDowell.
Oh.
As who? Val?
That was the first permeation.
Yes.
That was the first casting.
And then the ones I
choice.
just listed was the
Malcolm
second one.
McDowell and Bob De Niro.
That
right?
would have been that would have been cool.
That would have been crazy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Malcolm McDowell is the Irish
As Leo's character.
and then Bob De Niro's
Oh,
the
man,
butcher.
that would've been
Daniel Day-Lewis
such
and
a-
then put that guy as.
I
Malcolm
mean, but
McDowell?
back then, dude, that would have been a cool
Yeah.
That would've been
pairing.
a
This was the
weird
70s. Remember, this was
creative-
the year he made Taxi Driver.
73.
Okay.
Oh, well, yeah.
Oh, no, sorry, 78.
78, yeah, it's 77, 77.
I mean,
That would have had some punch. I would have.
For sure. I mean, yeah. Willem
Yeah,
Dafoe
so
and this
again,
guy.
and this isn't the first time this happens to Marty. When he was making Silence, the first casting choices were Liam Neeson, Daniel Day-Lewis, and then it went to, there was a second set of actors, Dafoe and somebody else, and then the third act, which was Adam Driver and Andrew Garfield. Like, this has happened to, it happens in every film, man.
Yeah,
You expect to do a film, somebody drops out for some. The female, there's a long list, Austin. If you can see, there's the female. The Cameron Diaz was not going to be
Really?
Cameron Diaz. He had like 4 other actresses picked
But
out.
Cameron Diaz was popping back in the day. That's why.
You know what's funny? He saw a film
Which one?
on TV.
2002.
It was
Cameron Diaz.
Sarah Michelle Gellar.
She was the original casting.
Yeah.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer got in the
Yeah.
way of casting.
And then
No.
Sarah Polley
Sarah Polly.
was before Cameron Diaz.
Yeah.
But the studios wanted Cameron Diaz because they wanted
Oh,
a
dude, they
bankable
listed.
star.
There's a whole list. Like, it's on IMDb also. Natalie Portman. I mean, anybody who was big, dude.
I would've gone
They
with
loved
Natalie.
Cameron Diaz because Cameron Diaz was a name right at the time. I mean, she was
she
massive.
was.
But there was a long list for that role, man. Like, fucking crazy list. But anyways, Cameron Diaz auditioned with Leo. Leo auditioned for this picture. Remember, him and Marty didn't have a working relationship yet.
I think he got referred to from De Niro.
From Bob De Niro.
Yeah.
Bob De Niro did the when he's a scout, A Boy's Life. I think it's called A Boy's Life.
When he's a scout.
When he's like a scout, like a Boy Scout.
Yeah, This
Leo.
Boy's Life from
This Boy's
93.
Life.
Oh, wow.
He did a film with Leo and told Marty as soon as you wrap that film, you got to work with this kid, man.
This kid.
This kid's fucking special. You got to work with him.
Think about it. He did this and then Aviator right after this.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
He was the De Niro. By the way, and De Niro turned down all of these films. It wasn't just like Bob switching to Leo. De Niro
He
turned
turned
down.
them down?
De Niro turned down this. He turned down The Departed. He turned down Jack Nicholson's role in The Departed.
Wasn't he
okay?
doing Meet the
But
Fuckers?
yeah, I was about to say this was probably around Meet the Fockers era.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
was his comedy era.
Jesus.
right? He just did
this is comedy.
If I'm not mistaken, him and Scorsese were kind of in a fight. By the way, they were like they just wanted to kind of be away from each other.
There was too
for
long.
this period.
and
There was
they
just too
needed a
long.
little-
Yeah. They just needed a break. I mean, he didn't come back to Marty till
So which one?
till The Irishman.
Damn.
No, well, the audition.
Well, the audition,
Yeah,
right?
audition with Leo.
2015. But yeah, anyways, he auditioned. Cameron Diaz auditioned with Leo, and Marty saw something special in the camera test. That was like, okay, they got this great chemistry.
Wow.
Let's bring her in. Yeah,
Natalie would have
Okay.
been nice.
Natalie would have been
I
great.
gotta ask. Oh, my bad. Go for it.
Oh, no,
Winona
I had-
Ryder too. By the way, Winona Ryder did.
Oh,
I
I found a quote that Scorsese talked about with Bob
Yeah.
when they tried to cast him for The Departed.
Uh-huh.
And he said that he wanted me to analyze this and said we already did it. It was Goodfellas.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have one more question, and then I'm trying to think if there's any more moments that
Little
you're like,
tidbits. Yeah. we
yeah.
can-
You were saying that a big talking point was the Twin Towers at the end. This came out in 2002.
Man, massive. So,
Um,
so
so-
the film, this
Honor.
obviously was filmed. This was originally set for release December 2001, post 9/11.
And that was a big thing like back then, right? All those movies come around the time either take them out or leave them in.
Yeah. So what happened was, and I remember Marty's quote exactly, if I'm not mistaken. I'll paraphrase, but they were in the middle of editing Gangs in New York when 9/11 happened. So they stopped editing for like 2 months. They were like, our city's in trouble. We gotta,
We can't just.
I think they were blocks away from where it happened.
Yeah, yeah.
his editing bay and shit. And he was like, "We got to stop." It's
Just
like
out of respect.
legitimately, the street was closed where his offices were.
So you couldn't even.
So like you couldn't even
If you
go
wanted
to
to.
the editing bay. And they stopped editing, so they pushed back the release date. But more than that, when they finally released it, the Twin Towers are in the shot, and Marty said, "It's not my job to repaint New York's history. It's not my job to repaint New York's, skyline. It's not my job to repaint it. This is how the film was.
Yeah.
This is where it was set, right? So that was the important part.
I agree with that.
The important factor of New York and well, again, the last minute of the film is the cemetery and how time has changed and how history's gonna, like the Futurama aspect, history's gonna stack on top of other history and replace that history, and we're gonna eventually forget about certain aspects. So
That's beautiful.
So that was part of the
crazy.
thing. Was
it's crazy to see how many films were affected and also what voices people decided to choose when telling that story. Like a small little fact, and I feel like you already know it, but like Lilo and Stitch came out after 9/11, and that whole last sequence of the film, they were going to have a plane flying through the city.
Oh, that's right.
And they had to get rid of all of it, and then they turned into like, oh, it's flying through the mountains.
And you're right, they did that for a few things.
There's it's interesting, that period when, as a filmmaker, you had to decide, am I going to look at this tragedy and everything that happened, and am I going to paint it as, I mean, this was made prior. I want to hold that vision dear, or I'm going to kind of like
9/11 changed everything in American society. Not only did it change how we do things, like go to airports, but it changed pop culture, and most people capitalized on it. Most people made films about 9/11 in that era.
I mean, we had like World Trade Center come out like in 2005.
Which one?
World Trade Center, the Nick
World
Cage
Trade
one.
Center. Yeah, I mean, Rain Over Me was right near there. 2008, I think. I mean, it was that.
Spoiled the movie, but yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I know. I'm sorry. You're right. So
but there was a bunch of films that removed it, like Spider-Man, Zoolander, Men in Black 2, Mr. Deeds.
Yeah, Marty decided not to. His position.
But I feel like, man, that must have had more of an impact, and it
was a gut punch, right? It's a gut punch.
I was even waiting for it. I was like, are they gonna come out? Like, is he gonna leave him in?
Yeah, it was a big deal for him to leave him in.
I got those questions.
Two-parter?
It's a two-parter.
Two-parter.
Yeah, you know how I like to ask these. What was your favorite part, and what was your favorite quote?
Who do you want to go first? Since you're the man with the questions.
I got to think about this one.
All right, I'll go first. My favorite. There's two parts. I love it when when Leo finally throws a knife at him and he just puts him in the table and just kind of. Yeah, that was one of my favorite parts, and the other one was when the barber, I guess that's what the guy was, challenges him, and then he comes back. And
you want to talk about this democratically?
Yeah, and then he goes, boom.
I love the quote. It's not my favorite quote by any means, but
my favorite quote is, it's not even a quote, I think, but I just think it's so cool. Speak fast. Speak smart and speak fast. No.
Speak more and speak fast.
Speak smart and speak up.
Okay.
When he's on the ground, when the guy's on the ground. I just thought that was just a genius line. Like, you got few words left in you. I better hear them.
When you're talking about the McGinnon, the barber, quote unquote.
Yeah.
When he invites him up and he stabs him and he kills him, and then he knows he's dead and he tells people. It's a funny line, but it also has everything to say about this film and the racial kind of aspect of it. Where he says, "Why don't you burn his ashes and see if they turn green?"
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
It's a great moment because it defines the picture, right? It defines the racial tension, and it defines the whole kind of landscape of what's going on in this moment. It's a pretty great line. Anyways, sorry. Yeah, but speak smart, speak fast.
Yeah, that was my one favorite. Yours is.
My favorite is just the iconic line of the film, right? It's the bookend. It's the knife, the blood stays on the blade.
Oh, yeah.
The blood stays on the blade. It defines a lot. It defines so much. So the blood stays on the blade. My favorite moment, dear God.
I got mine.
My favorite moment.
There was a lot of. How many do you think one-shotters?
Oh man, the wonders. There was a ton of wonders. So many great
ones too.
You know what I think my favorite moment of the film is, because again it defines what's at hand here, right? Or the stakes.
Yeah.
When the building's on fire, and then you have the municipal
firefighters
and the metropolitan firefighters, and then let's burn the next one just to have something to say if they burn another fucking building.
Yeah.
But it was the same thing, right? It was like competing even on the county level, even on the metropolitan level. And then there's another thing when they're doing the boxing thing, right? when they were doing the actual boxers.
Yeah.
And he says, well, what's the city limits? Where does the city end? They go to the boatyards.
Oh yeah.
And then he tells them, he's like, he's like, we paid. I thought you guys paid off the police. We paid off the metropolitan police. This is the municipal police.
Yeah.
It's like, again, the politics of who
boundaries and
what's
location,
going on.
who runs what.
Gang turfs.
Yeah.
Gang turfs.
In politics, in societal organizations.
So those are kind of my favorite moments. You know? The fact that somebody sits on the fucking fire hydrant to hide it until their gang comes. I mean, it's great. It's great. It's comedic, but it tells you so much about what's going on.
Yeah.
For me. So.
I think my favorite line, because of how much it hit me and how much I was stuck on it. Is I died an American.
Oh, by the way.
Those are the.
There was the actual true words of Bill the Butcher. Bill, his nickname was the Butcher. The last name wasn't the same name. The first name was William
Poole.
William Poole.
Was it Poole?
Yeah, William Poole was the actual name of quote unquote Bill the Butcher.
But he was also known as the Butcher.
Yeah, but he was actually known as a Butcher. He was an actual butcher.
Yeah.
His death came later, as you said. Earlier than the draft riots. Beautifully intertwined thing. But
I love that.
But his actual last words were, "I die a true American." Those were his actual last words.
Takes the cake,
That's
man.
crazy.
You took mine.
Yeah,
you took mine.
I die a true
I
American.
thought that's what he was gonna say. I was waiting for you to say it, and then you didn't.
No. It's because you know what? For the story arc, for me, the blade stuff, the vengeance, father aspect, he buries the blade after
the bookend.
The bookend. That's
true.
But the I die a true American holds so much weight because they realize what the fuck is going on.
I also, you know what? It's because we're so, or at least with me, I'm so ingrained in these idea that when you look at like revenge stories and look at like The Revenant, right? Mm-hmm. Where even when they're both dying, they're still fighting off to the last minute. Yeah. And that's what I was expecting, right? Like, okay, they're both knocked down.
Yeah,
and me too. And I was looking at the screen thinking like, okay, I know that the camera's looking somewhere else because we're trying to give context to everything, but it's going to come back and they're laying next to each other and then they're going to have the moment where they look at each other and then scramble for the knife. And I thought it was going to build into that. So when it didn't, and it was just like, well, I guess that's it, you know?
I think you said something along the lines of like...
when he figures out that it was a wound, so that was
but
it
was
shrapnel. He got stabbed by his country.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
I mean, he got stabbed by his country. The ships, right, blowing up the 5 points.
But that's why I think there was just gonna be a match because he was explaining it's a wound.
Yeah. But I was, I think you said something along the lines of like, I wanted him to get stabbed in the face, and it was like, no, it was them too, and their whole gangs are dead.
Yeah, we accepted, or you told me, and the conversation. It's accepting that. That's a thing of the past now. Like now, there's a new society being built over. So all this like turf
doesn't
war
matter
and all
anymore.
that, it's gone. All this like while they're having these meetings, like when are we gonna meet and how are we gonna fight? There's a whole other battle going on. And
so what did it mean then? That he's dying like almost like the last.
He's kind of dying with his beliefs and with his ideas.
That great monologue that he has where he's wearing the American flag and he's sitting by the bedside when I love that monologue. But he says he says I'm 46 years old. At the time that was old. Right? At the time most people weren't living to 100. Yeah. So I'm 46 years old and I've seen so much and I lived a good life. Like he knew he's getting to a place, where he's going to have to face death. And especially people looking, I mean, somebody wanted to shoot him in the theater, just like Lincoln. But like, he knew by the time he got there, he's like, this is a new era.
Exactly. That's how I'm taking
I'm not going to survive in this era. Exactly. My connections mean nothing anymore. My pool means nothing anymore.
So what he said, so him meaning like,
the new American tactics and politics are false. I die a true American because of what I believe in.
That's exactly
what again, you may
martyr
not believe
for
it.
His beliefs, yeah,
martyr for his beliefs.
And that was a great moment. I mean, the other moment, as far as for the story, that was really big and just so dynamic to look at is when Leo jumps and tries to take the bullet, because that ends up being this huge cognitive dissonance for the audience, being like, who are you really fighting for? Especially like I forget what.
No, and he says it in the voiceover. He's like, you don't know how well you're into the dragon's lair, or the dragon's grass.
Oh no, he talks about it's a funny thing being under the dragon's wing. You never realize how warm it is, and like that where he was, as much as he hates this guy and he's trying to gain his trust so he can get to a
falls,
point.
He gets addicted to pleasing him. You know, he gets addicted to
because he's taken care of by him. And then even like when they're at the bedside and he doesn't say anything other than, I've never had a son. Yeah. But that's enough for you to connect with the audience. Like he puts so much energy and weight into like, you're not just an apprentice. You're not just some boy. I feel like you're my only version of a son I'll ever have. That's why it's so painful to him when his friend comes and says like, "Oh, this is Valen. This is the
ultimate betrayal."
Yeah. You know? So yeah, those are my big picks for this film.
I'll also say that I thought you were going to go crazier for that shot. You didn't. I was hoping you would. I do. I don't know why I do.
I just need another watch through this. There was so much.
Maybe the creativity of this shot. It's so simple, so elegant.
Which one?
With the cross?
No.
Because I really like the cross one. Like when they're battling, it's when he's fighting he's fighting the cop. And that's like the first big fight where they're trying to chase down Valen.
Oh, and they bash him in the church and then he ends up...
No. They bash down the church wall and then in the background you see the cross hanging.
That was a genius shot.
Yeah.
It was a genius shot. The battle between good and evil and then that empty space in the middle.
Yeah.
It's a genius shot. A genius shot. No, but that's not what I'm talking about.
Is it the Bible?
It's simpler. That was a great shot too. Because the Bible is being thrown into this viscous black water.
Yeah.
It's already infected. His mind is already quote. He just did it to get out. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't say my favorite shot, but the shot that I loved.
Which one?
The street view lamp shot when they're describing each street.
And then like each street lights up a little bit.
Yeah, and then the hand. And when I close it, I make it a fist.
Oh,
I love this shot. I don't know why. It's so simple. It's Michael Ballhaus saying, okay, we're gonna do an overlet, and then we're just gonna light the minute you say the name of the street to all connect into this big light in the middle.
No, and then that, I mean,
it sets it up. It sets it up.
There's so many of those moments, though. I mean, with the Bible, with the cross in the background, all the little shots we're talking about. Yeah. There were so many moments where nothing needed to be said for the power to be felt in the scene and in the moment. Yeah. So, oh my God. Austin,
absolutely.
did you have a favorite scene or shot or line?
The opening, dude. It gets me every time I watch it.
The kick. Yeah. And the dead space, the quiet and all that.
Yeah. It's the opening moment. It's even like the whole interchange between Liam Neeson and Gleason's character, like, he's like, "Am I gonna have you on your side?" He's like,
"How much?
How much?" And it was like, 10, what was it, 10 per notch?
10 per notch. Yeah.
And then what was what you were saying about the dad? That he's the only guy that was worth.
He was the only the last honorable man I killed.
No, the only. He said.
Yeah, he says the only man I've killed worth remembering.
Yeah.
That's why, like, even after he kills him, he's like,
even
taking an ear for a nose for trophy, but this man, you don't touch.
The honor, there's still some type of
and then he has the portrait of him above the fireplace.
What a crazy dude to talk about, like, I cut out the eye that looked away, and I would have cut out both if I could have fought him blind.
There's so much, exactly.
Oh, do you want to talk about Daniel Day-Lewis with that eye?
Oh, yeah. So, Daniel Day-Lewis is a method actor, okay? We all know this. I mean, he's the definition of a method actor.
He cut out his eye.
He cut out his entire eye. No, he got a glass eye, essentially, a small prosthetic, essentially, of a glass eye to lay over his eye. And that tapping of the knife, he trained himself to do. This was real. This wasn't sound design. This was him tapping the eye.
He practiced for like months or something like that.
And then not just that, but Daniel Day-Lewis,
to stay in character.
He stayed in character for the entire shoot.
I heard that.
Offset.
I heard that him and Leo, if they were gonna talk to each other, they had to stay in character. If not, don't talk to you. You're not in character.
I don't know about Leo. What I know is
but when you needed to talk to Daniel.
Oh, okay, yeah. I don't know about that because like I read a fact that Leo and Marty, again, he would stay in character, right? Leo and Marty wanted to take him out to dinner, like convince him, like, let's go out to dinner while they were shooting, and they convinced him and he went, but he stayed in character. So much so that the waitress at the restaurant was afraid of him. Like, it was afraid to approach him because of how he was talking.
Many people think that's an asshole, but...
No, right. Not only that, but he hated the hairstyle so much that when they wrapped, he shaved his fucking head off. Every interview about gangs in New York, you will see him with a shaved head. He hated the hairstyle, so like he stayed committed to the bit.
Oh,
right?
He even took an apprentice.
He hated
he even took learned how to be a butcher.
He learned how to be a butcher.
Yeah.
My goodness.
He learned. He hired people to go to Ireland to teach him how to throw knives, like circus acts and stuff. Like teach him how to throw the apps.
I know that he did the butcher.
I mean, the whole thing. But by the way, another one of the great ironies. He played a Native American who hated Irishmen, and he lived in Ireland. He's a British actor who's a citizen of Ireland. What is it called? When you've become a citizen for so long, naturalized citizen of Ireland. He's a naturalized citizen of Ireland.
Wow.
And loves there and lives there.
That's
And
awesome.
and plays a guy who hates the Irish.
That's crazy.
But yeah.
Castro, open my eyes, open my world. There's always been this.
Open my glass eye.
No, there's always been a talk about method acting and really committing to the role both on screen and off screen.
Right.
And I know that recently, a little while back, there was a lot of talk as far as like actors coming out and saying, you know, people who are method actors are assholes that like to like be rude and all that. Do you find the value? I mean, we can't say that this man, his method acting did not pay off because
Sorry, no, go.
No, I was just gonna say, like, what are your kind of takes when it comes to like acting though?
Look, I think that got a bad rap ever since Jared Leto did the Joker.
Or are you talking about Heath Ledger?
I'd argue.
No.
I'd
Jared
argue.
Leto when he was sending like rats and like
Oh,
that
and
stuff.
like bullets to
Exactly.
yeah. Will
Before
Smith.
that,
I
you never heard
no.
of people being assholes.
No, you're right, but I'd argue that the
maybe
method
you did, but
acting,
not-
the method acting got a bad rap when Heath Ledger died.
What do you mean?
He
Bad?
locked himself in a hotel and
killed himself.
immersed himself, and
if he's asking for an actor, from
Yeah,
that perspective, that's how you're supposed to do it.
yeah.
Dude.
But I thought
No,
that,
I agree.
thought
I
that-
just mean
look what he created.
I thought that Heath Ledger, they talked about him having issues like
mental health stuff. Or,
yeah, he had like more issues beyond that character.
Uh-huh.
Like
Yeah.
No, well, it's
I-
because
maybe-
I will
the-
say
it
this.
may
I
be
could be
acted.
wrong. I see less method acting nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
Joaquin's probably one of the only ones that I can think of off the top of my head that's still does method acting.
But do you like it or?
I love it.
Right,
It's great.
it's
He's
one of
great.
those-
It's just, but you know what, man? Joaquin's a whole nother story, dude. He comes from a crazy family and shit, and has been through some shit. So,
No, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think it just got a bad rap. I think.
okay.
but you still
You
see
see the
I
value.
think I don't know. You tell me, as a director, as a writer, you would want somebody to really get immersed into.
I
this
would
thing.
want somebody committed, right? But I can't tell you what your process
no,
is, right?
exactly.
Like, I would hope, whatever homework I give you, and in my case as a director, I'd probably give you film assignments, right?
Like-
Screen this, tackle that, touch on this,
when we
but
talk about Scorsese films.
process.
Yep.
I won't touch your process.
When we talk about Scorsese films,
Which is-
I'm sorry.
No, which is fair.
Like Silence. I know that both Andrew Garfield
took
and
a vow of silence for like a month.
yeah,
in a fucking shack.
took. Yeah, I think it was. I forgot
Driver?
if it was 40 days or 60 days.
Yeah,
that-
something like that. I
That
think it was 40 days.
Adam Driver and Andrew Garfield both took vows of silence, and they stayed in a place like little shack and did not say a word to each other. And they stayed there. And then I think Conan or somebody asked them like, "Oh, what was that like?" You know, like because they really committed themselves to the role in the monastery and all that.
They
Oh,
did
they
Yeah,
did. No,
and,
no,
and
they
like
did. They
and
did.
you know even
Didn't
like
we talk
prayer-
about silence on this podcast?
We did. But I don't know
Yeah.
how much we got.
No, we watched it, but we didn't cover it.
Oh, okay.
We did.
No, we did.
Yeah, I
But we
think
probably
we have
didn't
an
go through
episode on
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, we covered it.
Sure.
It's
I'm
an
sorry.
earlier episode.
Yeah.
No, but like that, they talk about how
No, we haven't.
No. Well, it was
We
maybe
definitely
for.
did.
No, I'm looking.
I-
at it
I
right
feel like
You
I
made me
remember an
watch
episode,
it, and
yeah.
I watched it.
I feel like it was an episode.
Yeah.
No,
earlier.
Okay.
I'm looking through our stuff right now. We haven't.
Okay.
Interesting.
Well,
Well, we will.
yes. No, but like with Silence, they talk about it and they're like, "Oh, so what were your thoughts on it and all that?" And they ended up like hating each other because they said that they don't go too much into the experience, but
Why did they hate each other?
it's weird.
They were
All I could
separated?
understand from like their perspectives on what they're willing to talk about is that period of silence was so, I guess, kind of like isolating and lonely,
Oh, I see
and
where
you're
you're going at
trapped within yourself.
Yeah, I see where you're
And
going.
they were like, this person could have at any moment in time taken me out of that, and they
Right.
didn't. They chose not
Right.
to, and that they ended up having this weird like hating relationship. But it influenced the role where then when you watch Silence, you really believe the characters and
so
what
what
they're
do you
going
have? Is it worth it? Is it?
I'm just saying, if they
This-
gave you the space,
If my-
if
my
they
wo-
gave you the space to like, let's say, talking about a character, kind of like One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, right?
Yeah.
Somebody who's been trapped around people in an insane asylum
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff, and you're given the
That's
space
exactly
that if you
what's
want to, Castro will throw you in there for a month. You live amongst them, and then when you come out, like we're gonna shoot the film. Like, are you like, yes, that's exactly the epitome of what I want to do to train for a role? Or is that like,
I don't know if I'm gonna sound like, but it's obvious one of those, like, if it's Marty, if it's Steven, if it's
Fair.
for sure.
But not if it's Cardinals.
Yeah.
Just
No,
like-
if it's Carlos for sure, right?
if it's Stephen Carell?
Steve.
Stevie Carell. No. Obviously, I know that's like kind of like a bailing out kind of.
Yeah, no, but it's
answer.
like you're gonna give your top performance and
Yeah,
quality.
even if it isn't a big director, I would have to see the script. I would have to fall in love with it. They would have to relate with me.
There's elements that you have to.
But that's a really good question. You put me on the spot. Like, would I spend 40 days in a box just because?
No, I wanted to use that because I think that's one of the reasons why.
Yeah, we don't touch
Day-Lewis,
enough on method acting. On
Yeah,
this
Day-Lewis.
It is pretty. It's heavy.
It's heavy.
By the way, just because we're talking about casting, I'll say this quick little fun fact, probably to wrap because we've been over. John C. Reilly. How do you guys feel about John C. Reilly?
I love them because you never see him like that.
Yeah.
Oh, even his
because I've seen him in Boogie Nights.
his tone, like
he's what?
his tone, like the way he talks,
Mm-hmm.
it's not the classic like John C. Reilly tone. It's like you believe that he's like from that era, and like you get those like that Irish accent. Super impressive.
By the way, talking about casting, I found the list you were talking about.
Oh,
hold on. Before you say that, let me say this about John C. Reilly. He was reluctant to do this film. He was reluctant. He was like, I don't know if I want to do this film. I don't know what I would kind of bring to it. I don't know what it would do. And who convinced him was Paul Thomas Anderson. He's like, you don't turn down a Marty film. You need to go on this film. You need to go do this.
How can he had to tell him? What do you mean?
PTA convinced them. Go. You need to do this.
He was going to turn down
the role.
Really?
John C. Reilly.
What was he doing back in 2002?
I mean, he was doing didn't he do? He was doing drama. He was doing PTA films, right? He did Boogie Nights. He did Hard 8. He did. What else did he do dramatically?
One with Diego Luna. I remember back in the day.
Diego Luna?
Yeah, he has one with Diego Luna.
Do you remember his role in Licorice Pizza?
John C. Reilly? In Licorice Pizza?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
He was in Magnolia.
Oh, there you go.
He was in Licorice Pizza.
Magnolia was the 90s, wasn't it?
99.
John C. Reilly?
Yeah.
Who?
Wait.
Come on, you have to know.
Oh shit, he was.
I'd be the whole audience is gonna be disappointed.
Did you look it
Well,
up?
I have it here now. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Was he like a radio jock or what? What was he?
No. Do you have any guesses?
John C. Reilly. No. John C. Reilly in Licorice Pizza. No, I don't.
Okay, you want me to tell you?
Yeah.
When they're selling the waterbeds for the first time, he's the Frankenstein guy from the Munsters, like the actual Munster.
Oh shit! Yeah. No way.
Yeah, that was him. And then he's telling the kids like, I'm from the Munsters, but I can't talk to you right now.
That's right. That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he had a little pop-up role, and it's funny because I heard him and everything, and I remember thinking about that, but nobody else.
There's some great cameos in there. Yeah. Man. Bradley Cooper obviously is fun, but you know what? You know what's even the funnest? Steven Spielberg's dad has a role in Licorice Pizza.
What?
He's the guy testing out the waterbed. The guy with the ponytail.
No, he's not.
That's Spielberg's dad.
Oh my
God. Yeah. Anyways, fun facts. PTA, thank you for convincing John C. Reilly to do a Martin Scorsese film, because why not?
Absolutely.
I feel like he did another one. Oh yeah, he did The Aviator. He was the agent or whatever, the assistant.
Jeez, man.
Yeah, and he was better in that role for sure.
Yeah, well, he was explored more, right?
Yeah. Anyways,
do you want me to read this list off?
Yeah. List of female cast options
that were all considered for the role before Cameron Diaz was cast. Christina Applegate, Kate Beckinsale, Lara Flynn Boyle, Jennifer Connelly, Kristen Dunst, Eliza Dushku.
Really?
Yeah.
She's the girl next door.
Claire Forlaney, Anna Frail, Heather Graham, Bryce Dallas Howard.
Heather Graham was in PTA films.
Yeah.
Kate Hudson, Alyssa Milano, Brittany Murphy, Gwyneth Paltrow, Natalie Portman, Monica Potter, Christina Ricci, Winona Ryder, Alicia Silverstone,
Alicia Silverstone from The Clueless.
Vanessa Shaw, Vanessa Veri, and Sarah Michelle Gellar.
My goodness.
They were all considered.
There's a handful that would have been good.
Yeah, handful.
Natalie Portman.
Yeah.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Winona Ryder.
Winona Ryder's an Age of Innocence.
You don't think so?
Winona's in a... Kate Beckinsale was in The Aviator. She played Ava Gardner.
Kate Beckinsale, anything.
Yeah, I love her too. Yeah, she's great.
So yeah, Gangs of New York.
Gangs of New York, gents. I'm glad you guys finally saw it.
I'm glad you showed
in this capacity, in this conversational level. And it's still one of my favorite Marty films.
Yeah,
it's mine too.
I will say this: if I'm not showing people Goodfellas to bring them into Marty, I'm showing them Gangs in New York.
Gangs in New York.
I think it's a good entry level kind of Marty, but at the same time, it's so jam packed with cinematic value.
I think it
you have to
shows
be
you
a
that.
little bit of a.
I mean, this is a wonderful way to also get you out of this idea that Marty only does these like mafia, like mobster movies, because as much as it's called like the Gangs of New York, it's politics, it's history, it's characters, revenge.
Marty's extremely interested,
dynamic.
which is why I use this word a lot for his films. He's extremely interested in showing the underbelly of society.
Yeah.
That doesn't just mean mobsters, the underbelly of politics, the underbelly of America, the underbelly of cinema, he's interested the underbelly of the Catholic Church. I mean,
How It Flowers the Killer Moon.
The underbelly of America on the Native American side. I mean, it's just
that's beautiful.
I know this was kind of an interesting little like blip in our Halloween month.
Yeah.
But I think this is a great film to watch to get you excited on what Marty can do with a good period piece, and also excited for Flowers. I mean, I can't wait to see that.
And if you want to see method acting, Daniel Day-Lewis just.
I know.
We might have a series on like Daniel Day-Lewis. We'll have a Daniel Day-Lewis month or something, because it's be great to talk about. But I don't think anybody's ratings changed unless they went up.
No,
mine
stayed the same.
They're pretty high all around.
It's
so
I'll definitely just watch it again.
It's
a great picture. Next week. So again, just go watch Killers of the Flower Moon. This was the whole point of this. Next week we're going to be covering The Shining.
Nosferatu.
2012.
1912, yeah, I think that's
1922.
I was gonna say 22, but that felt like too later.
1922, because remember, it was 5 years before the jazz singer, which was the first talkie.
Which that conversation just took a whole worldly turn.
Yeah.
Well, wait, we're gonna film that next. This is
it doesn't matter. We
we could film it in whatever order. We already filmed the episode.
That's true.
Yeah. Anyways, we're talking to you guys next week about 1922 Nosferatu, German picture and German take on Dracula.
Can I just label it? It's gonna be called Nosferatu and the take on
remakes and
borrowing from art.
Yeah, for sure.
There's like a 30-minute conversation about remakes in Hollywood.
Which is the state of the industry. It's the state of the industry. It means it was happening even then, right? On what levels?
Yeah, because it's a spooky film, but it also brings up a lot of ideas.
Absolutely.
So, it was fun.
Check out Nosferatu. We're going to talk about The Shining. After that, we're going to talk about Friday the 13th at the Film Cafe, live at the Film Cafe. So join us for that in 2 weeks.
6.
What?
Part 6.
Oh,
Sweeney Todd.
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th. Part 6. Part 6. You're right. Sorry. I couldn't hear you. Friday the 13th, Part 6. The Shining.
We were talking about last week.
Oh, Sweeney Todd. Sorry.
And then we have The Thing at the end of the month.
The Thing at the end of the month. Our Halloween episode will be covering John Carpenter's The Thing. The things we carry. Maybe the real thing was the friends we made along the way.
Maybe the real Gang of New York
was the friends we made along the way. Thank you for watching Gangs of New York. Thank you for watching True Cinema. Go watch cinema at the cinema.
Go watch Killers of the Flower Moon.
Go watch Killers of the Flower Moon.
Go watch it.
And
subscribe to the podcast. Thank you guys for tuning into the WatchTower Film Podcast. Good night.
Love you guys.
Good night.